What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode here of the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts over the side, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Side Guys, Mr. Tad the Side. And Tad, I know TCU had a bye week, but the Colts, they went with Joe Flacco again. There's a last-minute scratch with Anthony Richardson, and he pulled out a victory against the Tennessee Titans in division there. So he didn't look as strong as he did against Pittsburgh in the week before, but, I mean, hey, victory's still a victory.
We're number two. Are
you guys number 2 in the division? Is that the case?
I think so. Well, yeah. Okay. I mean, basically.
Clearly you're not number 1. Because the
if you do like power rankings, like we're number 2. Obviously, the Texans are number 1. I'll take it.
Definitely. Niners played up Thursday night.
I was just going to say, your Niners are doing so hot. Like,
Niners are in first place in the division again with that win against Seattle. Yeah, so that's looking good. But big matchup coming up in week 7. They'll play the Kansas City Chiefs in a Super Bowl rematch. Twice Super Bowl rematch, I guess you could say that. So yeah, that should be very fun. That is the game of the week on Fox. So yeah, that should be fun for sure. Fortunately, San Jose State lost over the weekend in a close one with Colorado State. Very interesting, Tad. I don't know if you've seen this before, but they were rotating quarterbacks all game long, and not just like drive per drive, but like within the same drive, they were rotating quarterbacks. And I was like, this is very weird. And they said it on the broadcast too. It's like, this doesn't give any quarterback any sort of like rhythm within a drive. So I'm not sure what's going on with the quarterback situation there at San Jose State, but unfortunate loss with Colorado State. But also unfortunate for some fantasy managers because we had some key injuries at the wide receiver position, which we'll get into at the top of the episode. And unfortunately, if you made some bets with our good friends at Underdog Fantasy, that might have affected your betting as well. So guys, I mean, it's a lot of things you're going to be betting on right now. As of recording, we're watching the Giants and the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals are up 10-7 right now. So that's a close game. The Dodgers have a very commanding lead against the Mets.
Not surprisingly, a blowout
in game 1. But you can still bet on that. The ALCS will start tomorrow. We still got Monday Night Football. The NBA season will be tipping off pretty soon. The WNBA is in the finals right now, so you can bet on that. I mean, the NHL season has started. So, I mean, guys, there's a ton of things to be betting on. Get into the action with our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. So use our promo code that they gave us. That promo code is DESAI, DESAI. You can double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500, courtesy of our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. Right now, if you use that promo code, you can bet with, like I said, up to $500. So if you max that same amount on the platform using our promo code on your first deposit only, not any additional ones. So it's only the first one. You can bet with up to $1,000 on their betting platform. You can use the website, very easy to use. You can use the apps both on Android and Apple devices, very easy to use there as well. So guys, get into the action. There's a ton of things to be betting on. Lots of potential money you could be winning. Use our promo code. That promo code, once again, is DESAI, DESAI. Double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500, courtesy of our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. So, Tad, like I said, let's get into some of the significant injuries from week 6. We'll sort of go in order here. Let's start at the running back position here. Jerome Ford, running back with the
that one was
Browns.
Interesting.
He suffered an injury in the first quarter. It looked like it was apparently a hamstring injury. They will monitor this injury all week long. They did remove him from the game in the first quarter. This one I don't think is as significant though, Tad, because of 2 reasons. One, Brown's offense is still dismal. Like, I mean, it still looked really bad. I remember I brought up the stat when we did our start sit episode over the weekend because I said start the Eagles defense. In this game, they still have not gone over 300 total yards of offense. Deshaun Watson has yet to still throw for over 200 yards passing as well. So, I mean, yeah, this is still very lackluster, very terrible. Like, I mean, just use whatever adjective you want to, but it is not good. So, even if Jerome Ford is healthy, that sort of worries me a little bit. But I think the other reason that I want to bring up, Tad, is that Nick Chubb looks to be healthy and ready to go for week 7. So I think that sort of limits any sort of potential for Jerome Ford. But I want to pose this question to you. Like, with the Browns offense being as bad as it is, I think it's safe to say it's hard to trust a lot of the Browns players, but with Nick Chubb, like, I mean, a lot of people's, if he was healthy, possibly not possibly, but he is an RB1, but possibly a first round fantasy running back. So, I mean, just how do you value his value going forward now with this Browns offense and him coming back from injury now?
Right now, I value him as like a flex option with a low end RB2 kind of category because first off, we don't know if he's going to be the same player coming back.
True.
Second off, we don't know his usage rate coming back. That's the biggest concern to me as a fantasy manager is, all right, he may come back next week. Are they going to give him 20 carries? Because I doubt it. I think they're going to give him 5 to 10 carries and kind of see like, oh, okay, you're doing good, which they should, by the way. I'm not saying that's the wrong move or anything. But what I'm saying is I think they're going to bring him along more slowly than a lot of fantasy managers are going to prefer. So I think it's going to be more of a slow burn than a lot of people are hoping for. So I don't think Nick Chubb is like the magic cure-all for a lot of your fantasy teams like you're hoping. I'm sorry. I'm the guy delivering bad news. I feel like the opposite of Santa Claus.
Yeah, it's tough. It's very tough because, you have some sense of optimism based on what Nick Chubb has done in the past. But, just the way this Browns offense is operating, it's very hard to rely on him.
It's so one-dimensional. That's exactly. It's such a one-dimensional offense of just like, well, we're just going to blitz you all the time. Because if you pass it with Deshaun Watson, we're going to get to Deshaun Watson. And if you run it with Nick Chubb, we're just going to get Nick Chubb. So it's just like, God, I'm so sorry, Cleveland.
So take that with a grain of salt, even with Nick Chubb in play, because it's really hard to trust any Browns player right now, just with how that offense is looking.
Hey, you got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Good for you, Cleveland.
They got the Guardians there in the ALCS.
There you go.
So
there you go. And
unfortunately, they don't have a basketball team or a hockey team, but you still have the Guardians, folks. So root for them instead of the Browns.
I mean, they got the Cavaliers. Come on.
Do they though?
Darius Garland.
Yeah, I guess so. I do like Darius Garland. They do have the Spiders, Donovan Mitchell. So, but
yeah.
All right, the other running back that I want to get to, significant injury here, bigger name, Travis Etienne Jr. suffered an injury in that game in London against the Chicago Bears. Exited the game in the third quarter in a blowout loss against the Chicago Bears. This was bad. A very,
I am shocked. I thought by the time we were recording that we would be like, oh, Doug Peterson got fired. I'm shocked he is still the coach.
Well, he's still in London, so maybe they're going to fire him after he comes back to the States. So that's exactly.
I love that.
Because they're playing the New England Patriots in Week 7 in London. So they're going back.
No, don't wish that upon him.
So it seems like Etienne hurt himself in the second quarter, but the Jaguars didn't officially rule him out until the third quarter. So some reporters and some people on Twitter are saying that he sort of hurt himself on a running play, like it was like on a blocking play or like a non-physical action type of play. And that's why they eventually ruled him out in the third quarter, possibly seeing if maybe he can go as far just like as pass blocker or something like that. But regardless of the case, he did not return in that game. There's a question about whether he'll be healthy. With them staying in London, he'll be able to stay there, hopefully heal up for that game Week 7 against the New England Patriots in London. But we brought this up, I think, last week that Tank Bigsby is now your guy now. So he should lead the bulk of the carries there. We also saw a goal line carry by Dearness Johnson. So he'll be the supplementary piece in this rushing offense if Travis Etienne is not good to go. So you got those two running backs. So, if you were late to pick up Tank Bigsby last week, there's probably everybody clamoring to get this guy now because Travis Etienne is injured with him possibly missing Week 7 there. So, we'll see. It's a very good matchup, obviously, against the New England Patriots as well. So, that's a matchup that you want to take advantage of to get Tank Bigsby if he's available out there. So, we'll see with Travis Etienne, his health status as we go throughout the week.
Yeah, not much to add here. Is just like, Tank Bigsby, we talked about this last week. He was a key ad for us last week. And that was pre-Etienne injury. And now with the Etienne injury where you have no competition.
Exactly.
Obviously, that is your top. That is the incredibly rare, I actually mean this. He has RB1 potential.
Definitely.
And you can still, in some leagues, get him on the waivers. in all leagues because waivers work in ridiculous ways in some waivers, but we're going to ignore that. We're going to ignore that for now. It should have been mine. But bottom line being is like, no, Tank Bigsby is going to be the top ad of the week. No questions asked. And he should be. I know this Jaguars team has been struggling a lot, but here's the weird thing. The team's been struggling. The offense really hasn't. If you look at it like fantasy wise, Brian Thomas has been doing well. Etienne, I know Etienne was getting a lot of hate, but really he wasn't doing all that badly. He was doing okay for like a flex position for where he was drafted by most people.
That's the biggest thing. Yeah, that's always the biggest thing, right?
Yeah. And for where he was drafted, he wasn't doing well. But if you look at like his actual production, he wasn't doing terribly. And so I think that Bigsby is going to step into that role, and Bigsby already was kind of being like, oh shit, this guy might be legit. So Bigsby, his stock just absolutely skyrocketed today.
Exactly. All right, Ted, let's get to the two marquee receivers that I want to get to as far as suffering serious injuries that may put them in risk of missing week 7. Both suffering a concussion. We'll start with the rookie in Arizona, Marvin Harrison Jr. He took a shot to the head in that game against the Green Bay Packers. This happened in the second quarter. And Ted, I don't know if you saw the replay, but it's like he tried to get up and he was wobbly, and then he immediately went right back down. The training staff took a look at him. He eventually was able to walk off the field on his own power, but they immediately ruled him out going through the concussion protocol as we go through week 7 here. Honestly, this is not only a significant injury to the Cardinals offense, but this will hurt a lot of fantasy managers. Well, obviously all the people that have Marvin Harrison Jr. on their roster, but all those people that have Kyler Murray on their roster, I think they take a big hit as well, because now who do you have in this passing offense? Like, I mean, Trey McBride, I think he got a healthy amount of targets, but it's like outside of him, there wasn't really much that we saw there.
Is that Greg Dortch?
Greg Dortch. He was
Greg Dortch. That's it.
At the receiver position, it was Greg Dortch. He had 5 targets in this game against the Packers, and Michael Wilson, he had 4 targets. But leading the team in this game specifically against the Packers was Trey McBride. He had 8 targets. And then your guy out of TCU, the running back, Amari DiMercato, had 7 targets in this game. But it's like at the receiver position specifically, if you're trying to replace Marvin Harrison Jr., that's what worries me, because he only had 5 targets from Greg Dortch and 4 targets from Michael Wilson. So this is very interesting. We have to see how it goes to the concussion protocol. Like I said, it looked like he took not that he looked like he took a big hit. He took a big hit because he was clearly wobbly and shaky and things like that. So we'll have to see how it goes to the protocol all through week 7. But the big thing here, little bit of a silver lining for all of you Marvin Harrison fantasy managers, is that they play on Monday night against the Los Angeles Chargers. So you have that extra day to potentially go to the protocol. So he may be good to go and everything will be all right. But still, like I said, based on what we saw, based on just, instant reaction sort of thing, it looks like it could be severe there. So I don't know who I trust in this Cardinals offense as far as a receiving threat at the receiver position if Marvin Harrison Jr. can't go.
Oh, I do. The answer is easy. How do you not know this? It's
at the receiver position, because I have a feeling you're going to say DiMercato, but he's a running back.
Okay, no, fair. I wasn't going to say him. No, a receiver, running back, whatever it is, the easy answer is I don't trust fucking anyone.
Okay.
On this offense without Marvin Harrison Jr. No, absolutely not. And we saw a perfect example of what happened with them against the Green Bay Packers. Let's not forget this is a Green Bay Packers team that got blown out a week ago, and then they just basically returned the favor to Arizona this week. And this is so funny because everyone's been telling me like, oh, you've been an Arizona hater, and I have, because I'm like, no, Arizona are frauds. And this is a perfect example of why they're frauds, is because if one player goes down, their entire offense seemingly...
Yeah, really quick, I just have a little bit of breaking news. If people are watching this Giants and Bengals game, Joe Burrow just took a shot to the back of the head, and he was taken to the Blue Medical tent. So, I mean, we'll have to wait to see exactly what's happening here, but there may be a concussion in play here for all you Joe Burrow fantasy managers. So just keep an eye on that as we get to this.
Managers, the T. Higgins managers,
I mean, just all of that. Yeah, that could possibly be significant. So
God damn it,
keep
Cincy.
an eye on that, guys.
Cincinnati, he's your best player. Protect him.
Yeah,
so
that was a tough. That's a tough one to see. So we'll see exactly what's happening with Joe Burrow. But yeah, I agree with you. Arizona, it's tough to trust anybody that offense. Let's get to the other significant.
Is Jake Browning still their backup?
I believe so. Giants are on offense right now, so I mean, we'll have to wait to see exactly who's going to come in.
So we get Jake Browning versus Daniel Jones. Just what everyone wants on Sunday night. Perfect.
But let's get to the other significant receiver injury here, Tad. Chris Olave, wide receiver with the New Orleans Saints.
Congrats on your DK win, by the way.
He exited the game in the middle of the first quarter in this divisional matchup with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He took a hit to the head in what looked like a helmet-to-helmet hit with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers there, determined to have a concussion. He also fumbled on that play, but it's not because of the hit. The guy punched the ball out, and then he took that shot.
It was a clean hit. It was not a dirty hit whatsoever. It was just one of the, it's football. It was just one of those things where it's like, shit, that's football.
Yeah, but the biggest thing is that this could be significant because while we're sort of talking about Arizona not having a lot of playmakers on offense for them, and it could affect Kyler Murray's status, like this Saints offense overall, this could be a little bit of a bind because they play on the short week against the Denver Broncos on Thursday night, and they're already without their starting quarterback in Derek Carr. They have Spencer Rattler, the rookie, starting there. If you're without, that's what I was looking at. If you're without Chris Olave as well, that could be a big hit to this offense. So, I mean, if you look at the targets in this game specifically, when Chris Olave went out, Alvin Kamara and rookie Bub Means, they led the team in targets with 8 apiece. Bub Means also scored the only receiving touchdown in this game for New Orleans. Rashid Shaheed had 7 targets in this game, so he should see an increase in targets as well, but just maybe Bub Memes is sort of like a flash in the pan. Maybe he's the guy that you want to pick up here because, I mean, he was in the same draft class as rookie Spencer Rattler, so maybe there's some connection there, so maybe you want to pick up him on a short week. But yeah, with the short week, the chances of Chris Olave playing in week 7, very, very slim.
I don't mean to laugh because this is I obviously don't cheer for an injury. If I'm a Saints fan, I'm fucking terrified right now. They have two listed backup receivers on their depth chart. How is that possible?
Yeah. This is very, very interesting.
I was just making a case last week of like every team has 7 receivers on the roster. Well, apparently not the Saints.
Not the Saints, apparently.
Yeah, nope, apparently not the Saints. Yeah, this is gonna be interesting, especially on a short week. Like you said, it's not like you can bring in someone like, just sign a free agent and be like, okay, yeah, just run a slant. Like,
yeah,
I guess you could do that, but for a Thursday night game, that's not great. Kendrick Miller has plenty of experience. I can, tell you myself as a kind of like whiteout kind of running back.
Well, and obviously Alvin Kamara, he's a receiving threat too. So, I mean, but
if that's what you're doing, like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's risky.
Man, Rattler looked good too. They're just doing that kid no favors, are they?
It's tough. It's a tough thing. It's an unfortunate injury that happened very early in that game. But like I said, we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, on the short week, this is really just hard for Saints fantasy managers.
The short week is what's really
rostered. It's like, this is going to be a rough week. For sure.
Yeah.
Tad, unfortunately, your guy, Quentin Johnston, he suffered an injury in that game against the...
He's fine.
Yeah, the hope is that he's fine in that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So early in the first quarter, Johnston left the game with an ankle injury. He looked like he got it rolled up on him, guy running a drag route. He did not return in that game. Johnston leads the team in receiving touchdowns, and he is second on the team in targets. So you expect Ladd McConkey to see an increase in targets. I think Josh Palmer, the other wide receivers, should see an increase in targets as well. But one key thing, Tad, is that Ladd McConkey also left that game with a head injury. But the big thing is that he returned to the game. So that's why it's not maybe quote unquote not as significant, but he did return.
Red Zone doesn't show concussions if they come back.
So yeah, he did return in that game. So yeah, hopefully he should be good to go for week 7 there. But they also play on Monday night. I brought that up. They're playing on Monday night against the Arizona Cardinals. So there's a possibility there that he should be good to go. But yeah, so Quentin Johnston is sort of one of those guys that's like, he's sort of been a supplemental piece for that Chargers offense. But we talked about this before. The Chargers are very much a ground and pound type of team. They're running the ball a lot. They're playing good defense. And so Chargers offense, this is the first time, Tad, that Justin Herbert has thrown for over 30 passing attempts and over 200 passing yards. All of the games
over 200?
Over 200.
All season.
All other games he had done neither of them.
Oh my God.
So that sort of tells you that that's just not the way this offense is operating. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Even if Quentin Johnston was healthy,
No wonder
it's
Jim
hard to
Harbaugh's
be relying
panic
on him
attacks.
as a fantasy option. Like, it's just tough for sure. But the other very interesting thing that happened in this game specifically, Tad, I don't know if they brought this up on Red Zone, but Jim Harbaugh,
I just made a very poor taste joke about that, but keep on going.
He went to the blue tent, and a lot of people were wondering, like, what's going on. They eventually took him back to the locker room. They were evaluating him. They had an interim head coach for the time being, but he did eventually return to the sidelines. It was determined that he had a heart arrhythmia, like a little bit of a slight, like, flutter, I guess they're calling it.
He had a panic attack.
It seems like that's exactly what it was. And so, increase in heart rate. And so it was a little bit of a freak situation there. But it looks like he's going to be perfectly fine. But there was a short term where it's like they were without their head coach in that game as well. So very interesting situation in there for sure. But Tad, I mean, just what do you make of this Chargers offense, even if Quentin Johnston was healthy? Like, I mean, it's just hard to trust it through the air, right?
It's hard to trust them through the air, and I'll even say this: it's hard to trust them on the ground now too, because J.K. Dobbins, posted up, 1 week, 2 weeks ago where he had like 6 or 7 points. Another week, the week after, he had 7 points, and then this week he had like 23 points. So it's like I don't even know if I can trust J.K. Dobbins. I sure as hell don't trust Gus Edwards. If you still have Gus Edwards, drop him from your roster. Drop him. We were talking about this all off season. It's like gonna be one or the other. We figured out the answer. It's J.K. Dobbins. 100%. So just Gus Edwards not gonna be a thing. But it's just this. I mean, I'm truly shocked that 200-yard stat is just and they're what 3-3 now.
They had a bye week, so I think they're 3-2 now.
3-2. I mean, that's pretty incredible. That you have a quarterback that hasn't thrown for over 200 yards until week 6, and you go 3-2, you have a winning record. That's pretty incredible. So my whole point being is I really don't trust anyone on this offense.
I think for me, I want to go back to something that we discussed, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, about J.K. Dobbins, where I brought up the fact that I had him as a sit. I think it was a start-sit episode, and I said, sit him now. But one thing that we discussed was that I think he's the perfect buy low candidate because he had back-to-back bad weeks. Then they were going on a bye week, but I still trust him to be the lead running back in this offense. So that's why he had a bounce-back game against the Broncos.
He is definitely
so I still like him the rest of the season.
And he is definitely like the lead running back. There is zero, like in Washington, you have a little bit of question now that Brian Robinson's hurt and Austin Eckler didn't have the best day fantasy wise, which cost me a win.
Their running game was terrible this entire game against the Ravens.
No, you don't trust me. You don't need to tell me. But bottom line being is like the whole Washington backfield situation is so muddy. Los Angeles is totally different. I'm just like, no, it's Dobbins' backfield. Like he's got that. So you are correct there. Like he's got the thing. It's just, can he produce with those carries?
Yeah, exactly. All right, Tad, last injury that I want to bring up before we get into our waiver wire picks is Dallas Goedert, tight end with the Philadelphia Eagles, left the game against the Cleveland Browns in the first quarter with an apparent hamstring injury. It was confirmed to be a hamstring injury, and he did not return for the rest of the game. Goddard was one of the hottest players entering this game against the Cleveland Browns. They had a bye week last week, but in those 2 games prior to their bye week, he combined to have 17 receptions, 232 receiving yards. Unfortunately, did not find the end zone, but the big thing, though, is that he was one of the key players while they were without Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So now with the return, we saw A.J. Brown. I think he went over 100 receiving yards. He scored a touchdown in that game. Devontae Smith was a good supplementary piece once again. We saw Jalen Hurts return to form as well. So it's like when he had his key players, Jalen Hurts seems to be that guy that you can sort of trust again. But without those guys, it's like you wonder just how good is Jalen Hurts without those key pieces. But now with those key pieces, it's just like how much are they going to miss Dallas Goedert? Because it seems to me that Jalen Hurts likes to look in the direction of both Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So even though Dallas Goedert has been on a little bit of a hot streak at the tight end position, where we sort of had some issues at the tight end position with other tight ends, it's like it's hard to trust him going forward, especially now with the injury with the returns of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So any quick thoughts on the Eagles?
Yeah, I'm not. This sounds very mean to Dallas Goedert. I'm sorry, but I'm not overly concerned about his injury because, like you said, it's especially today. I know it was against the Browns, but still, that offense seemed to be a lot more, in focus and good. What's the word I'm looking for? And good momentum, rhythm. Thank you. They just seem to be more fluid with both Devonta Smith and AJ Brown back. AJ Brown, especially. My God, that man. They got him for fucking Treylon Burks. What are you doing Tennessee. Actually, I'm not going to complain. I'm glad he's out of Tennessee. Point being, though, is I like in terms of personal wise, very unfortunate for Dallas Goedert. Fantasy wise, I don't think it's going to have a big effect on Jalen Hurts or anyone on that Eagles offense. Also, and we got to bring this up just once because, we got to do the token thing. Aiden Hutchinson, man.
I was going to get to that. I was going to get to that just now. I was like, yeah, unfortunately. Oh, just to clarify for all of you Joe Burrow managers, he is playing. So, I mean, it looks like
he's back.
So, yeah, he's good.
Wait. Hold on. You know what that means? Oh, boys. I'm back.
So we'll see whether Joe Burrow can lead a comeback here as they're still trailing against the New York Giants right now, 10-7. So, but yeah, just jumping back. Yeah, we obviously talked about the offensive players, but yeah, Aiden Hutchinson in a blowout win by the Detroit Lions against the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know, Tad, if you saw the injury because
I saw it.
I missed it. Then, obviously for courtesy for all the viewers out there, they don't re-show the injury because my God, it was bad. I saw it on social media. I
literally had a friend ask me, like, how is that possible? How does that happen?
Yeah, they took him away on a cart and they put him in an air cast for that leg specifically. But yeah, he has a broken tibia and do not look up that injury if you're squeamish because it is not good. It is not good. But yeah, it is probably safe to say his injury is the rest of the season. He's not going to play the rest of the season. It'd be very surprising if he does play.
From all the Twitter doctors I follow, and granted they're Twitter doctors, it's going to require a rod in his leg.
Oh yeah, 100%. So yeah, that was just, unfortunate there.
In case you're squeamish and you don't want to like look it up and you're still like, well, just what happened is essentially, I know this is how crazy this injury is. His leg wrapped around another leg. Like, that's essentially what happened.
Yeah, no, it was not good at all for sure. So yeah, Aiden Hutchinson, we wish him the best in his recovery because he's not going to be playing until 2025 now.
He was having
but
such
some
a good
other big. It's true. It's very, very true. I think he had a couple weeks ago. He had a 3-sack game or 3.5-sack game. So this guy was.
I think he was a favorite for Defensive Player of the Year.
Easily. I think so. But yeah, other big names as far as the defensive side of the ball that maybe will not be able to play in week 7. Justin Simmons suffered a hamstring injury for the Atlanta Falcons. We have Patrick Surtain. He suffered a concussion in that game with the Broncos and Yeah. So he may possibly be in the protocol. So he may miss week 7 as well. Tyrann Mathieu had a forearm injury, so he could possibly miss some time. And then Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle for the Washington Commanders, he had a pec injury, so he could possibly be in danger of missing week 7 as well. So all you IDP players, keep that in mind. But yeah, Aiden Hutchinson, unfortunately, you're going to have to find a replacement for him for sure. So talking about replacements, Tad, let's sort of get into the week 7 waiver wire picks here. Really quick, 2 teams that we have on a bye week. Only 2 teams this week, so not 4 just like the past 2 weeks, but we only had 2 teams on a bye week this week. Chicago Bears, having just played in London, they are coming back to the States, so they will be on a bye week. And this team needs it, Tad. The Dallas Cowboys are on a bye week this week because that blowout loss.
I thought you were going to say my Indianapolis Colts, and I was very, very excited.
But I was going to say the Dallas Cowboys because they
does Mike McCarthy still have a job by this time next Sunday?
I think so. I think he still keeps his job.
I'm not sure.
I think a lot of people are going to be calling for his head, but yeah, I think he's definitely going to keep his job.
Trust me, I'm here in Dallas with like local Twitter, local X going on right now. That trust me, plenty of people are calling for his head.
But yeah, should be a good matchup.
Also, plenty of people are also asking for the stadium to be rotated so they no longer blind their players.
Yes.
Because when the sun sets, it's like directly in the window. Yeah.
But anyway. It should be an interesting game after their bye week. In week 8, they play the San Francisco 49ers. So that's a potential. Like if they have another dud after the bye week against San Francisco, that could be a good chance where Mike McCarthy could potentially get fired. I can see that happening.
You are so looking forward to that game. I can see it on your face.
I am so looking forward to that game. But Tad, let's get into the waiver wire picks. I'm going to start at the quarterback position. I'm going to go. We sort of questioned this move by the New England Patriots, but it actually sort of worked out for them. I'm saying pick up Drake Maye this week.
Oh, you're pulling the trigger already.
I think so. For 1 week at least. I don't know about how I feel about him for the rest of the season, but I think for 1 week, and I'll get into why I trust him for this week at least. But like I said, Tad, we sort of questioned this. Like, why are they throwing to the Wolves against the Houston Texans? A very tough defense there, but he looked pretty good. I mean, he went 20 for 33. He had 243 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. He did throw 2 interceptions, and he added 38 rushing yards off 5 rushes. I watched the highlights. I was watching Red Zone for this, but he looked good. He didn't look amazing, but he did not look abysmal either.
He looked like a rookie.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of good things that you saw there, but yeah, there's a lot of bad things. Obviously, the interceptions, a couple of those were like, yeah, probably not the best throw, but that touchdown that he threw to Keyshawn Boutte, the very first one, that was a fantastic throw.
I texted you about that.
You did. Yeah, you did. So I had to look up that highlight afterwards, obviously. And yeah, that was a fantastic throw. So you like what you saw there. The other touchdown that he had to Demario Douglas hit the guy in stride, so he was able to catch it and run forward. So that's how he was able to score the touchdown there. So, I mean, there's a lot to like there for sure. I think just he brings a little bit more mobility to that offense at the quarterback position more than Jacoby Brissett. So it's like you see that sort of pocket awareness. He was moving in the pocket a little bit better. Like I said, he got out on some rushes as well. So you combine that with Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson, I could see a little bit more potential for this offense a little bit going forward. Obviously, I don't know for sure whether they'll keep him the starter for the rest of the season, but I think we saw enough that he should be the starter this week against. This is why I'm saying pick him up this week for sure. They're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars this week in London. So I know
just made Caleb Williams look like the MVP.
Exactly. So I know Caleb Williams, obviously #1 overall pick, and he had a good week the previous week as well. So it's like riding a little bit of that hot streak. But I think just going to London, a lot of people may sort of chalk this against Drake Maye. But like I said, Jaguars defense is one of the worst defenses in the league right now. There's a lot of people, Tad. I don't know if you saw, there's a report here. They're saying that players have quit on Doug Peterson. So there's a possibility of like loss of morale. It's just they're not fighting for him. So it's like there's a possibility that just like we may not see full effort from the Jaguars until we see some sort of change by the Jaguars front office to replace Doug Peterson. He could be a candidate to be fired, like I said earlier. That's like after this week in London or to come back to the States, he could possibly be replaced. So, I mean, there's a possibility there. But yeah, Drake Maye against the Jaguars, I like the matchup. That's why I'm saying pick him up this week.
The matchup's interesting. Like you said, like that, the pickup of like season long. Yeah, I don't love it, but like that one particular matchup, that's interesting. Especially because, you have, Derek Carr still out, Spencer Rattler. While he looked good, didn't do too much for you fantasy wise. I'm not saying Rattler's, debut, because actually he impressed me. I actually thought Rattler looked pretty good, but
he looked pretty good. Yeah.
Fantasy wise, he didn't do much.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole thing is I actually kind of like this pick. That's not a bad pick.
Yeah, Drake Maye put up, I think, depending on the league that you're in, at least 20 fantasy points in your respective league. So I'd take that. I'd take that as a streaming option too. Like 100%, I'd take that.
In fact, I looked up, do you want to guess how many of the top 10 fantasy quarterbacks right now, as they're ranked, put up back-to-back 20-point games from last week?
Back-to-back 20-point games. How many have done that?
From last week to this week.
I'm going to say 1.
You are correct. 1. Do you want to guess?
Lamar Jackson?
It was not actually.
Oh, it's not Lamar Jackson. Okay.
That interception fucked him. He finished at like 18. I'm cheating a little bit.
That's fair. Yeah.
It was Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, he did have a solid day today as well against
Baker Mayfield's the only quarterback as of they stand now that he's the only top 10 fantasy quarterback to have back-to-back 20-point weeks. So something to keep your eyes on.
Exactly. I like that. So, Tad, let's get to the running back position. I know you have a running back for us at the waiver wire.
I mean, speaking of Baker Mayfield, let's bring up his new best friend. It's Bucky Irving.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I didn't think I'd bring him up, but when I was doing research for this episode, this shocked me. And I'm cheating a little bit because I think our rule was under 60. Was it under 60 or under 70?
I go under 50. I think you typically go under 60.
I tend to cheat a little bit.
That's all right.
So he's at 68% rostered. So he is rostered in a lot of leagues, but I still think 30% is significant enough to bring him up because that number still shocked me. Bucky Irving is going to be the Bucs starting running back for the rest of the year. Mark my words right now. Because you look at the split in carries, I was already concerned about Rachaad White's lack of production because he was getting, to start the year, he was about 50 to 40 compared to 50% to 40% compared to Rachaad White. He wasn't doing much with it. He was averaging about 3.5 yards somewhat. He wasn't really scoring touchdowns. And so Rachaad White had 15 carries That was the most carries the Buccaneers gave a running back up until this past weekend, where they gave Bucky Irving 14 carries. That was a sign to me that, okay, Bucky, I know Rachaad White's hurt, and people are going to be like, oh, no, when he comes back. And yes, when Bucky Irving comes back, he is going to eat into Irving's production. But I'll tell you, this is a long-term investment. You take up Irving right now, you play him opponent-based, and you keep him on your bench. And I promise you, by week 10, 11, 12, he is going to be the full-time starter in Tampa Bay, unquestioned, and you will have a guaranteed start. This is the Bijan Robinson of last year, where everyone was like, oh, Bijan Robinson sucks up until what, like week 10 last year. All of a sudden he blew up and everybody like rode the playoffs on his back. That's what I think Bucky Irving's going to be.
So obviously Rachaad White's dealing with the injury right now. So we saw Sean Tucker. He actually had a sensational game. He had 14 carries.
That was one good play. That was one good play.
And 1 touchdown. So is that just a blip in the radar? Like you're not concerned with him at all?
That was one good play. If you watch the game, it was a screen pass that he brought down. It was a very impressive play. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like he got lucky or anything. Very impressive play, but I'm not worried about him stealing touches at all.
Okay. Because, he had 136 yards on the ground, and then he add that 56 yards through the air as well. So he scored 2 touchdowns in the game. So not concerned.
No.
Okay. Fair. All right, let's get to the wide receiver position. So, Tad, I really love your pick. So, I mean, I have a pick at the wide receiver position, but speaking about Drake Maye, I really want you to go into your wide receiver pick because I want to give sort of a 2 for here because I was a huge fan of your pick.
Yeah, so this is a guy I think we were both fans of going into the season, and finally it's paying off. It only took 6 fucking weeks, but finally it's paying off. But Demario Douglas, you look at what he's done over the last 2 weeks. He had 9 targets last week, only produced about 7 fantasy points, depending on your format. This week, he finally paid it off with about 13, 14 points because of the quarterback. It's all about how you utilize those targets. And he is getting those targets. And look, let's just be frank. This Patriots offense isn't good. They're not good. This run game's terrible. Ramondre Stevenson's
have a lot of work to do. Yeah.
They're basically building from the ground up. Ramondre Stevenson is on I know he's hurt right now, but he's basically on the edge of being benched anyways. Yeah. Because he can't hold on to the goddamn football. So I think that Demario Douglas is going to keep getting these targets. Again, 9 targets last week and this week. So like that target number is going to keep coming. And the difference is with Drake Maye, those targets actually reach his hands, which is really nice as a fantasy manager. So I really like Demario Douglas. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be, your perfect like flex replacement right now, but I think he is a fascinating kind of guy to keep on your bench and be a bye week replacement depending on the matchup. I think that is the key part to keep in mind is I think this is very matchup based, but at the same time, at this point, especially in deeper leagues, because he's available in 80% of ESPN leagues. So if you're in a 12-man league or if you're a psychopath and, enter your co-host in a 14-man league, then, he may be one of the only receivers available at this point. I think that this is a real steal you can get halfway through the season.
Yeah, I love this pick, especially, like you said, matchup based for sure. But just with Drake Maye, we saw him get Demario Douglas more involved in the offense. All the other receivers too. So it's like obviously Kayshon Boutte scored a touchdown. We saw Kendrick Bourne, who's finally healthy. He got some scores as well. I mean, he got some targets, I should say. He didn't find the end zone, unfortunately, in this game. But Hunter Henry, he found the end zone in this game. So just overall, I feel a lot more optimism with Drake Maye in this offense. So yeah. With this matchup this week against the Jaguars, I love both Drake Maye, Demario Douglas, both sensational pickups off the waiver wire. Long term, I think that's the one that's still maybe a little bit of a question mark. But let's get to my pick at the wide receiver position. We brought him up before, and I think, unfortunately, this is probably the final week that I think you can rely on him. And so that's why he's a waiver wire pick if you need to make a waiver wire replacement for, DJ Moore. Keenan Allen had a great game. So for the Chicago Bears, obviously, CeeDee Lamb's on a bye week this week. So if you need to find a replacement for those guys, go pick up Xavier Legette of the Carolina Panthers. And so Adam Thielen, Tad, if you remember, he was put on the IR back in week 3. And so by week 7, that'll be his final week on the IR. So he should be able to activate for that week 8 game. So there's a possibility that he may come back and eat into all the targets opposite of Deontay Johnson again. So, I mean, there's a possibility that we may see less of Xavier Legette after week 7. So I think here in week 7, this is the big thing. He found the end zone for the second time against the Atlanta Falcons. He's slowly becoming a bigger part of the offense. I like his, role in this offense going forward, but just like I said, with Adam Thielen sort of creeping right around the corner, I feel like we may not see as many targets for him in this offense. It'll be very much like a matchup-based thing to see whether he's worth starting as a flex play possibly, or maybe a wide receiver 3 on your roster there. But yeah, coming into week 7, the Panthers are playing the Washington Commanders, who just surrendered 308 passing yards to Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Also in that game, Tad, the Washington Commanders surrendered close to 500 total yards to the Baltimore Ravens. Like, I mean, you attribute that to King Henry having a fantastic
I'm about to say
game.
300 of those were to Derrick Henry, so...
So yeah, I think this is a defense you can exploit in fantasy football. So yeah, I like Xavier Legette in a spot start as a waiver wire addition.
Yeah, good pick. I mean, I said this as soon as Andy Dalton became a starter. It's just like I think his stock skyrocketed because it just hurts. I want Bryce Young on another team. I really do think Bryce Young is going to be a Geno Smith type or
could be.
I really think he still has a lot of talent, but unfortunately with the Carolina Panthers, it's done. It's done. That book is written. It's like The Hobbit, right? Like you close the book on The Hobbit, but then you had Lord of the Rings. So let's make Bryce Young Frodo instead of Bilbo.
Sure.
I don't know. Is that too nerdy for a football podcast?
I don't think so.
Okay. But bottom line being is, yes. No, I think that now with a legitimate quarterback that happened to go TCU, just saying. And won us the Rose Bowl. Also, just saying, beat Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. Just gotta say that. But bottom line being,
how about that quarterback that took him to the national championship? How's he doing?
Shut it.
Don't make comments like that. Then you're just opening yourself up for criticism.
Bottom line, yeah, like that's good.
I like it. All right, Dale, let's get to tight end here. Do you have a pickup for us at tight end?
Hey, I picked him as a starter this week. I told you to start him, and goddamn, I hope you listen to my advice because Cole Kmet went off.
He balled out. He balled out in London.
Jesus Christ. So, I mean, I don't have much other to say than that he's averaged 6 targets over the last 4 games.
Yeah.
6 targets a game. That's a lot of targets. And then I look, and before people yell at me, I'm not going to say like he is still a boomer bust prospect. He is entirely touchdown dependent, but as we saw today, I think he's pretty safe for a touchdown. He seems to be Caleb Williams, like red zone go-to guy. It's either him or Keenan Allen because it doesn't turn DJ Moore and just DJ. One touchdown catch. His elbow wasn't down. Just God damn it. Anyway, so I think that Cole Kmet is definitely like Caleb, like developing exactly as what you and I expected him to be, is Caleb Williams' favorite safety blanket, especially in the red zone. And if this Chicago offense continues the way it's been looking, I think they're just going to keep getting better. And Cole Kmet's role is just going to stay the same. I compare it to Jason Witten to Tony Romo. Imagine that kind of relationship. That's what it seems like both in play style and both in production. So I think that's kind of what you should expect going forward. But Cole Kmet, available in almost 50% of leagues, just under 50% of leagues, he's still out there on the waivers. So I think Cole Kmet, especially with a weak position like tight end, excellent pickup.
Now, one thing to note, while I love the pickup, that the Chicago Bears are in a bye week. So, I mean, we should see that number actually drop quite a bit because I think a lot of people will be making an adjustment to their fantasy roster. But
that makes it more valuable.
Space. I think just the biggest thing is just if you have the space, this is a guy to add for long-term purposes. So it's like after that bye week, I think, yeah, they may incorporate him more as far as game planning with the bye week preparation. It's just like, yeah, Caleb Williams may look his way a little bit more often. So yeah, he's a guy that, like I said, if you could afford to add him, even though he's on a bye week, he could definitely produce possibly for you after the bye week is done. It could be a spot start for you depending on the matchup for sure. All right, Tad, so let's get to the defense here. Do you have a pickup for us at defense?
LAFB, I'm finally on your side. Pick up that Chargers defense.
I do like the Chargers defense this week. Yeah.
This is a great pickup. They scored 8 points against the Chiefs 2 weeks ago. They had the bye. And then they scored 7 points against the Broncos, despite almost laying up that game. That was surprisingly tight today.
It was a little close at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little close at the end. But they still scored 7 points against the Broncos. Now, they're playing a very cold Arizona offense that has allowed 3 of the last defenses that they played to score at least 7 points against them. So
keep in mind, we brought this up at the top of the episode, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is possibly not playing this week.
Yep, no, exactly. And so even if Marvin Harrison Jr. is in there, I still don't trust the Cardinals offense to not totally lay a dud against the Chargers. So I like the Chargers a lot. I don't love them if you have, let's say, the Ravens defense, it's like, oh, I should drop them. Don't do that. Stop. Don't do that. But if you have a defense, if you're streaming, so for example, I have the Texans defense, right? They did very well for me today. I am not starting them next week. So I need a defense next week. The Chargers are who I'm targeting. So that if you're in that position, go for the Chargers because that Cardinals offense, I said this from week 1. People were telling me week 1, like, oh no, the Cardinals are finally good. I'm like, no, they're not. No, they're not. And we've had confirmed that Cardinals offense has some real problems.
Yeah, agreed with that. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is that, whether Marvin Harrison Jr. is healthy, whether he's not healthy, Cardinals offense is just very up and down. It's just hard to trust, what you can get from there. And that just means that whatever defense that they're playing, that's an automatic pickup because I think that's a defense you can sort of take advantage of. And we already brought it up that that's the style that Jim Harbaugh likes to operate with. It's just you run the ball really well and you play really good defense. So yeah, I think in this matchup, we'll see a lot of that for sure. So yeah, I could see a very good day for the Chargers defense against the Arizona Cardinals for sure on Monday Night Football. So, Dad, I'm going to go with the kicker. I'm going to go with your kicker, Indianapolis Colts kicker, Matt Gay. So I think in week 7, the Colts will be playing the Miami Dolphins, who are coming off a bye week. But the bigger thing here is that Anthony Richardson was a late scratch for the Indianapolis Colts. They rolled with Joe Flacco this week. But now with the extra week here, there's a good chance that Anthony Richardson will be in line to start there in week 7 against the Miami Dolphins. So if that's the case, I could see a situation.
Yay.
I think there's a chance there. So we'll see limitations by this offense. They may have to settle for some more field goals. And this is where I think Matt Gay could sort of line up for having a lot of good fantasy points for you then. So, I mean, this could possibly be a situation where it's like they're relying on Matt Gay to be the offensive producer for the Colts to get on the board. Because look at the Dallas Cowboys with Brandon Aubrey. If Brandon Aubrey didn't make his field goals in this game against the Lions, they might have get shut out by the Detroit Lions. So, I mean, I could see a very similar situation here with the Colts and Matt Gay. So, yeah, if you're streaming kickers, Matt Gay is a very solid option for you this week.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. That's why I'm mad. It's because you're right. If, our kicker is going to be our main offensive producer because our quarterback doesn't know how to fucking complete a pass in the red zone.
Because, I mean, what's the status with Jonathan Taylor? Is he looking like
I don't know. I mean, that's another question. What am I, Adam Schefter? I don't fucking know. I thought he was going to play this week.
Yeah.
I didn't start Trey Sermon. He got me 2.7 points.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the question marks surrounding Trey Sermon as well, still, so possibly for another week, then yeah, that's definitely a situation where it's like, okay, it's not bad to trust the kicker for this week at least, for sure.
Joseph Adai is still available?
Joseph Adai out of?
Oh, Jesus. Indiana? I don't know.
LSU, I think, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right, actually. I think you are correct. Now that
I think it went to LSU, if I remember correctly.
Donald Brown?
That one's an easy one. UConn.
Damn it!
First round pick, Donald Brown.
Oh, God.
that's the worst part.
How dare
That's
you?
the worst part.
Damn it. God damn it, Donald.
All right, guys, those are our waiver wire picks here for week 7, and we covered some of those big injuries there in week 6, especially those 2 key wide receivers in Chris Olave and Marvin Harrison Jr. So, I mean, guys, in case we got to somebody that you wanted us to discuss as far as a waiver wire pickup, follow us on our social media handles. You see the ticker coming right down below. Hit us up on our Twitter and social media handles there. You got me at UpTheSide23, Tad Decide 94, got the show handle at The Decide Guys, and of course on Instagram at The Decide Guys as well. So if you have some question marks as far as like, oh, I want to pick up this guy, what are your thoughts? Or it's like, should I drop this guy for this guy? What are your thoughts? It's like, hit us up on those social media handles, DM us. We're here to give you personalized advice. Whether you need trade help, like if you're in the situation, we're at the midway point of the season, we can sort of figure out. We gave you the idea to trade for J.K. Dobbins, so it's like we may sprinkle in some things here and there, but we can't focus as much as we want to in every single episode about everything. So, I mean, that's the best way you can sort of get a hold of us to get personalized advice, your start sit help, your DFS fantasy football help, your dynasty football help. We talked about, the big injuries to Aiden Hutchinson. We also talked about, Patrick Surtain and Justin Simmons. So it's like, if you're in an IDP league, I play in an IDP league, so we can give you some IDP help as well. So guys, whatever league you're playing in, we're here to give you advice. We're here to help you win some championships and take home some fantasy titles this year. That is our goal for you guys. The only way we can do that is if you interact with us. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you're always up to date with our podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please, we can't say this enough, make sure you support our parent network at LAFB Network, because they're giving you a lot of great content when it comes to the Rams and the Chargers at the professional level, and the Bruins and the Trojans when it comes to the college football level. A lot of great content producers coming from a lot of great content coming from a lot of great content producers from the LAFB network. So yeah, hit us up, hit them up, interact with them. A lot of great stuff coming from them. And without them, there would be no us. So, I mean, guys, to everybody's already interacting with them, supporting us in every way that you can, listen to the podcast, watch the videos, interact with us on social media. I mean, just anything and everything that you're doing to support the podcast. We cannot thank you enough.
As always, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching, and please stay safe, everyone.